Double-digit thousands stacks.
All right, we're back this week to talk about all the fallout from the Super Bowl and the beginning of what could be the next dynasty. And the death of Mr. Brown is finally revealed. Stay tuned to find out who it is. This is the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. Welcome back to the We Don't Know Sports Podcast. This is Chad the Mark. You guys remember Biggie, but this guy is no longer Mr. Brown.
I am Greg freaking Rawlings.
Oh,
You gotta help me out here.
Biggie was no help on that.
Nah, he left you hanging.
He's too cool in those sunglasses.
I was too busy looking at myself in the reflection.
I mean, listen, real quick. I had to let it go, guys. Mr. Brown is dead. I have the last name of baseball for a reason. I am Mr. Baseball. I am Greg freaking Rawlings. Let's roll with who I am, fellas.
So you're saying move over Tom Selleck. There's a new Mr. Baseball, and he rocks
Amen,
the
brother.
beard. He
That's
rocks
right.
the fade.
And I will charge any Japanese dude that throws at me, just for the record.
But you really did almost die.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect time for me to rise from the ashes like a phoenix.
What was wrong with you?
I think it was the bubonic plague.
I thought they had a treatment for that nowadays.
Nah, apparently not in West Virginia. They sent me home, wouldn't even give me anything.
In all seriousness, you had flu A.
Flu A,
And are you still feeling the effects of it?
just a cough.
That sucks. Like, we were talking about that, like how people think they know what the flu is. Like,
Yeah, I'll lump them all together.
I got a stomach ache.
If I'm sick, I
a
got the
stomach
flu. No, I mean, I legit had a 103 or 101 to 103 temperature for about 7 straight days. And I didn't leave the house. It was bad.
But you lost a lot of weight.
Lost 20 pounds in a week and a half. And I have a 5-pound dog. And it was weird because I'm here by myself. And I looked at Marley, and I was the only one I was hanging out with. And I was like, dude, when I die, just don't eat me because someone's going to come find me first.
You don't have to worry about that with dogs.
Cats are quicker.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Cats
I
are
think
sons of bitches.
cats
Yeah.
they said was a day and dogs are a week.
And the cats like start at the head or something.
Yeah,
Like,
they don't play.
Hey, cats, they're little bastards. They try to make it like they purr and shit and try to make it think like,
No, but
oh, we love you.
they only
They
care
don't-
about the affection on their terms.
Nah, they don't.
And when they're eating their head, when they're eating your head, that's definitely on their terms.
you won't know. It'll be okay.
Dogs give you the affection you crave. Cats give you the affection you deserve.
No, that's bullshit.
Uh,
I hate cats.
have you ever had a cat?
Yes.
Oh.
At my mom's house. Not me personally.
Two of them.
You've been a functioning adult, never had a cat.
No.
Oh, you just haven't lived.
No, we had it for like 3 days.
Was it a
we was
feral cat?
gonna make sure it was we was trying to make it be an outside cat. And I just bought the ex a car, and then within 2 days it freaking knocked shit over on the car and scratched it all to hell. And I was like, I just fed it to the coyotes. To get it out of here.
It's an outside cat after all.
Yeah.
It's
Like Darwinism.
the thing that kills me is we just got one, and it's a pretty good cat, but damn it, man, it wants to get on the kitchen table and the counters and shit like that.
Tinfoil.
Tinfoil.
Yeah, because we got a cat because my daughter wanted a cat. I didn't want a cat. She wanted a cat. I didn't want a cat. We got a cat. Now the cat sleeps
You
at
love
my
that
feet
cat,
every
don't
night.
you?
Oh, that
You
cat
fucking
loves up.
I know we probably broke a record how many times we've just said cat in one
Cat.
show.
cat.
But yeah, that's the thing is that the cat knows
Cat
it's not
Williams.
supposed to be on the counter. If it
Oh,
sees you, it
pussy.
takes off. But
pussy cat.
fucking stubborn ass biatch.
What's new, pussycat? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Is this all because of that
I like
one
White
interview?
Said Fred better.
Right. So
Poor pussy.
You-
Poor pussy cat.
I think we're going to get a Right Said Fred reference
There you go.
ever. on
Glad to
the
be
show.
back, fellas.
So the voice you sang that in, is that the bald guy who does I'm Too Sexy for
Yeah,
Us?
That's
yeah,
Right Said
that's
Fred.
the
Okay,
lyrics.
I never knew his name.
Is
I knew the
is it
song, but
wait. Is it a him or is it a group?
I think it's a him.
I think it's a him.
I know there's a him.
Outsider.
Is that just
Researcher?
him? Can we get our crack research
No,
team
they're
to
not
check and
listening.
see if Right Said Fred is a singer or
or a group singer.
What?
There you go.
That's
singer.
it. So it's just one guy. Right Said Fred is just one individual. This is the type of knowledge that you're going to get downloaded. Oh, wait.
It's a band.
There's 2 of them.
All right, well,
at
it's
least
a
the
duet.
2 of 'em. They're definitely European, though, right?
yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Now it's a
They're
party.
multiplying.
Now it's a party.
It's a menage a trois
They're-
of guys wearing mesh shirts. because that was all the rage when they came out. Back in
They're
day.
the cousins to the guys that did Rammstein.
Yeah.
No, that's not fair.
Yeah, I love Rammstein.
Rammstein's better.
I'm too sexy for this song.
Du hast.
Yeah,
Du
that's
hast.
the only way it sounds is the end. They try to be dark. They try to be deep at the end, whereas Rammstein's deep all the way through.
I can jam to some Rammstein. They're a little out there sometimes, but yeah, we had a Super Bowl. I think that's probably
Yeah, let's
what
get
we
talking
need to
about that. We're
about
talking about like random 90s
You
songs.
know, look, everybody's talking about the Super Bowl, so hopefully you enjoyed a reprieve there a little bit as we took you down early '90s pop culture. But the big question, you know, is the Chiefs, man. Like we got to start looking at them as a dynasty now, right? Like they are. It's theirs until it's not, right?
I mean, first team to repeat in what 20 plus years, right, Biggie?
20 years.
Since the Patriots, right?
The 03-04 Patriots were last team, so 2 decades or 19 years, I think technically.
Now
Yeah.
with the NFL parity,
it's more impressive.
it's insanity. But and they weren't the favorites really much of the season, all season long.
You know who you can thank for this Chiefs Super Bowl victory?
Who's that?
Antonio Pierce.
I saw
That's who Andy Reid thanked
Did you
for
see
it.
that?
I did not.
When Antonio Pierce got named full-time head coach,
Andy Reid
reached out to him,
he's a
congratulated
good
him.
guy, stand-up guy.
Reed
And then
said
it
we
told-
better win it this year, boys, because Pierce is taking us down twice next year instead of once.
Remember when they whipped their ass?
Yeah.
That Christmas Day game, he thanked him. He said, we needed that ass whooping. We were soft.
Yeah, there you go.
You realigned them.
Hey,
Yeah.
before we keep talking about the Super Bowl, I want to say this as a Raiders fan, and I never say this in the last 20 years. Every time someone asks me, what are you going to be? My best case scenario was always 8-8. Now it's 8-9. That's on a good year. Okay.
So 9-8 when you're really optimistic.
No, I'm telling you right now, if we get any resemblance of a quarterback, the Raiders are making the playoffs this year, going at least 10, 11 wins.
Isn't it crazy? Like I agree with you. If you have a Pro Bowl, I hate to say Pro
The only
Bowl.
reason I want to bring that up is because I haven't felt this optimistic in 20 years.
No, but
okay?
that's what teams say, right? Like we're just a quarterback away. We're a quarterback.
Well, you look at the Raiders as far as your skill players offensively, you are just a quarterback away. Like if you had Derek Carr back, you need just that level of quarterback.
Here's the crazy part. They'd have made the playoffs this year if they didn't start the year with the Jimmy G experience, which I knew was going to be a train wreck. I mean, I'm not saying O'Connell's the deal, but he at least managed the game enough to where they didn't lose it.
Well, you kind of knew what you had there. He's young and
Antonio Pierce, like I hated the Josh McDaniels hire. I hated Jimmy G. I said it from the beginning. And Jesus, I said on our show earlier, the Chiefs and the freaking 49ers played on our home turf in a Super Bowl. That's just slap in the face, Vegas. We got to get back to nasty.
Those are two of the Raiders' biggest, if not the biggest rivalries. And that does hurt. That's got to stick in your craw, but
it's Super Bowl related, okay? But I'm not trying to get off the rails, so keep it rolling.
But we can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. I mean, that's the thing. Like
I got it in my gut, okay?
Everybody runs the Super Bowl into the ground, but like I'm with you on the Raiders as far as like if they have the coach. You know, it kind of gives you
I love their staff they're putting together.
It gives you a Dan Campbell vibe a little bit, right?
He does. He's got that ultra aggressive
former captain for the New York Giants.
1-2 Super Bowls. I mean, he's the guy.
Tom Coughlin loves the man. I should tell you right there.
As a head coach, you don't necessarily have to know every X and O. Not that he doesn't, but you hire good people underneath you, and you're a guy that your players will run through a wall for.
Yeah,
you win.
He's the defensive guy. That's why he knows he's got to bring in a good X and O's on the offensive side.
No, I'm happy. I think it can go back to the Raiders of like the 70s and 80s. There's an interview with John Madden where he's like, yeah, we're dirty. What you going to do about it? That is Raiders football.
AP even said, man, he was like, we're going to bring it back to Raiders football. And guess what? That means no one likes us. And I'm fine with
bring the identity back.
All right, let's reel it back in.
So on the other, before we go down the Chiefs rabbit hole a little more on the other side of that, let's talk about the Niners for a second, because, you know, probably the most controversial player during the Super Bowl week and media days, and even maybe for the last month, has been Brock Purdy, right? Like whether it's Cam
not
Newton
by his own reasons,
right? Whether it's Cam Newton coming out or RG3 saying stuff or whoever, you know, he became a media storm, and you know, a lot of people,
he's a bullseye for no reason at all.
Like you're just going out there and playing with the hands you're dealt, and look, you lost, but you're telling me you almost went to a double overtime with the Chiefs, and like immediately the next day, people were like, not Niners fans necessarily. I think Niners fans are okay with Purdy, But
I'd be
outside,
fine with Purdy. Put him on the
outside of
Raiders.
that, they're like, oh, that's why they didn't win. And what did the
So-
Niners? They fired their
Defense
Steve
coordinator
Wilks.
Steve Wilks.
is that seems like a knee jerk reaction.
That's bullshit.
That
what it is.
That's a bullshit firing.
So
That's
where's the end?
complete
He's going
bullshit.
to have a job like
So-
tomorrow.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan's working his way out of San Francisco with decisions like that, right?
They've lost 3 straight Super Bowls. What you know what they do? They lose big games.
You know the thing about big
They
games
do.
is a Belichick thing for years and years. More games are lost than are won. And the Niners, not to discredit Kansas City, the Niners lost that game more than Kansas City won.
They've lost 3 in like 5 or 6 years.
They've lost 2 under Shanahan, and then they lost 1 with Harbaugh in like 2011.
Dude, fellas,
2012.
all I know is you put up that little joke about the Cowboys. Like everybody trolls the Cowboys.
They've
'cause
won a
ain't
Super
since
Bowl.
But the
95.
Niners are 96, right?
Yeah,
Niners are 95.
Yeah,
Cowboys are
there's-
96.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, the Niners have gotten longer.
Yep.
Then why is it always Dallas is the fucking
Because at least
scapegoat?
San Francisco can win some playoff games. I mean,
They've
that's
been
got-
to the
but-
championship game for the last 5 years.
They've
2
been to
Super Bowls.
Bowls.
Both Super Bowls, they had a 10-point lead and
What's
blew it.
Dallas?
So congrats in the last 30 years you're the Bills.
Right, I mean, well, they've
Well,
been
that's
Super
exactly
Bowls.
what I said. You're becoming a less fun version of the Bills.
They're a better version of the Bills, but here's
Not
the thing:
recently, 'cause
the,
they never won
the
one.
Cowboys are like everybody trolls them, but San Francisco gets a pass. I think
That's
it's
my point.
I think it's because of the annoyance of the fan base. Like, there's nobody more annoying than the Cowboy fan base, right?
Because everything's bigger in Texas.
Even their expectations and their
Exactly.
understanding of football.
I'm just glad that I bet on the regular season Dak and not the playoff Dak because it led me to the championship in fantasy. But I knew what was going to happen once he got to the big dance.
Well, we were talking prop bets, and I bet on the purple Gatorade and got that one right.
That was
Nice.
nice.
That was
How much money did you win?
Not much because it was the favorites.
Oh, okay.
It was like betting on the Chiefs.
But
to win.
it's weird because they don't normally go with the favorite. That's what's weird about
Chiefs
it.
were a dog in this
I
game.
know Vegas. They said that it was a record.
So-
Vegas had 190 million bet on the game, and I'm like, that's it. Like, there's no way.
Doesn't it seem like there would be more bet
That's
on the Super
just-
Bowl?
That has to be just Vegas sports books, not like betting
FanDuel and
FanDuel.
DraftKings
Yeah, it
and-
can't be counting that.
Was there a prop bet on if Reba is a vampire or not
Is she? She looks the same.
for the last 30 years?
Yeah.
Was there a bet on that? I know there was, Biggie. You would know.
Not that I saw.
Gingers can't be vampires.
They had
Wow.
a bet
Pretty
on
sure
how-
that's a rule.
I've seen gingers
Maybe
in
that's
Van
the
Helsing.
opposite.
Van Helsing.
Maybe it's the opposite.
Hot
Gingers,
ginger vampire.
gingers would be more likely to be
Absolutely.
vampires because they're
There
already
was,
allergic.
there was
Well,
even a ginger vampire in Monster Squad.
Buffy was a
Nice
blonde
movie.
and she was a vampire slayer. So redheads can be vampires.
What's that have to do with anything?
It's
I don't
it's
know.
the
It's just
conclusive
that he was
indefinite
blonde.
property.
Are you talking about the?
Anyway, sorry.
no, I need to know if he's talking about the Sarah Michelle Gellar version or the what was
The other one that had Luke
Uh,
Perry in it.
Christy,
Christy Swanson.
Yeah.
That was one of my 90s crushes for sure. Is Christy Swanson.
Yeah, very nice.
Oh.
You remember? I didn't see her for The Chase with Charlie Sheen.
That was good. Great movie.
But I feel like I didn't see her for a long time, and then
Until
Big Daddy.
I was even good before that.
Oh, really?
Higher learning.
Okay, she wasn't higher learning, but I remember she was the Hooters waitress.
Yes.
And what's your 5-year plan? Don't die.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was Christy Swanson.
Yep.
I remember my wife really liked the movie Flowers in the Attic.
I never heard that one.
It's basically when they lock kids in the attic. That's it.
Nice.
We live in a mansion. You're gonna live in the attic because we're aristocrats and we don't like these kids. I don't know.
And they say F them kids. So
They
they
do.
started early.
They do. Man, did you see the shit that happened at the Super Bowl parade?
Yeah, brutal. So I,
Gangbangers.
in our NFL group, man, everybody was making fun of it, and I read that they was targeting kids, and
Like half the people that got injured were minors.
yeah. So I mean, like, people are cruel, man. Like, it for real. It's a football game, and you're gonna sit here and make jokes about it as Niners fans or NFL fans. It's just tasteless.
Nobody cares when they're behind the keyboard.
No, it's tasteless, man. I mean, grow some balls.
Right, but that's why they do it, is because nobody's going to confront them about it. We're not going to look up their IP address and drive to their house and kick their ass like it needs to be done.
I was like, just guys, keep it tasteful about the tragedy in KC, and people's like, F you and F them. They deserved it. I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
I mean, it was a terrible situation.
It is, man. But what
Nobody
about
deserves to have that happen. But if we think one thing of that positively, or I would like to think of, is the fans out there who tackled the fucking shooter until the cops came
yeah,
over.
So they literally tackled the man they know who had the gun in possession, knocked him down, knocked the gun away. I mean, I saw the video. It was insanity. Like, think about what's going through your mind when you're going to go tackle the dude who you know have already shot up several kids.
Which sucks because the overall parade, like, started having some good stories. You had, was it, what's his name? That was walking around shirtless and,
Oh,
like,
was down on, was that McCole Hardman?
no, it was, Gay. Is it?
Oh yeah.
It's not Willie, is
Randall
it?
Gay?
Randall
Yeah,
Gay.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Willie Gay was stuck in my head. And I didn't
Like
wanna say it.
running and carrying his shoes in his hands.
Yeah, and he had like
Yeah.
Hennessy, and he's just
Yep.
like laid. Like everybody's having fun. Like we want to see drunk Kelsey, say things and all that. And
Viva Las Vegas.
it just it takes away from everything. But more importantly, it took away from one person lost their life. Was it 20 plus people injured?
Yep.
That's so shitty. And what's crazy is like Kansas City's not a big city. But they don't have the exact estimation, but they were saying there was like 800,000 people there. You know why they were saying 800,000 is because when the Royals had their parade, that's how many people were there for that. So they were like, there's at least 800,000 because we're using that as a point of reference. But think about that. The Royals, who are like this just almost a farm team in MLB, you still had 800,000 people support that damn team.
Kansas City is a passionate sports town. If you build it, they will come.
They're thinking about building that stadium
I've
downtown.
seen that. I've seen that.
That would be awesome.
But I mean,
Kansas City, St. Louis area for baseball fans is super passionate.
right. But back to the crime thing, I read somewhere that Kansas City is the third highest
Oh yeah. Yep.
rate as far as
Rate per
shooting.
capita.
Really?
And that's not even, you don't think of that as any of the top three.
No, I mean, it's not on my radar. I'm not seeing it's not a Baltimore or Chicago or
I mean, you automatically think LA, New York,
Chicago.
That's the three that pop in my head. First,
I was watching the news before
Gary,
I came
Indiana.
down,
Yeah.
and they said that they had narrowed it down to it happened at the parade, but it was actually a gang dispute. And when you
Yeah.
think middle America, Kansas City, you don't think shootouts at a
it
parade.
don't matter. Any city they got. It's
Yeah, I know it sucks.
I mean, just it was probably I don't even know how old the shooter was. They haven't said, but I bet under the age of 25.
Probably so.
It's shitty. All right, we could be more depressed and go down that, but I hope
we got to do better. That's all I want to say is we got to
Right.
do better. We should be able to have an event where fans can come watch their team celebrate
and not worry about
and not
shit.
worry about shit like that. The fact that we're still having to worry about that, I'm not going to sit here and preach gun control or anything like that, but like
Have some class.
we got to be better people. Period.
like remember like back in the day when people would have a problem if you were around like a bunch of other people. It's like we'll settle this another time.
Right.
it-
Like today's not the day.
No. Like
So I mean, like what we
if you
got
got
to do
beef,
better.
go handle it, but like don't bring in everybody else.
Yeah,
to
you got to do your
so
thing.
it's
Anyway, I mean it is what it is.
no, but that's where we're at. in
Well,
life
it's
now.
it. Run somebody over with a car, stab them with a knife, shoot them with a gun. You kill them all three ways. It's the decay of society. Be a better human being.
Yeah.
And here's
Be
the
like
thing:
fans.
the movie Friday, when he pull out the gun, his dad's there and tells him not to fight like a man. Dude, if you get your butt kicked, move on.
Yeah, live another day.
Just grab a brick and hit him in the face.
Wow.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying, why do we have to?
We need more John Witherspoons in this world. I miss him. And we don't get that glorious.
All right,
actor
so
anymore.
to the game. I know I picked the Chiefs.
I did as well.
Biggie picked the Niners for the sake of the show, even though he's a waffler. But anyways,
It's okay to waffle on this, I guess.
that's
I-
not.
No,
You need to pick where you're going to pick and be legit real
I
about
feel
it.
like this one was a crapshoot.
I'm just
Was
saying, pick your
crapshoot,
team.
but it's just like I do on Thursdays. On Thursday to Sunday, things change. Where I bet
Oh,
on Thursday and where I put my money on Sunday ain't always the same.
I just feel like you should put your money where your mouth is on the show.
If we do it on the day of the game about an hour before kickoff, I will.
When we start going to Radio Row and doing a live, maybe we can
Then we can
hold
do
you
that.
to that. But all right, so Biggie, you're the fan of the New England Patriots. You know what it's like to have a dynasty. So when you look at the outside end at Kansas City, can you call it that now?
Yeah, it used to be you'd always say for years and years you had to win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, like the 90s Cowboys or the early 2000s Patriots, or it's the 70s Steelers. They won 4 in 6 years with 2 repeats. The Niners of the 80s had a back-to-back and won 4. These Chiefs have won 3 in 5 years. They played in 4 of the 5, and in all 5 years they've been in the AFC Championship game. If it wasn't for an overtime loss to the Patriots, which resulted in the rule that played out in this overtime,
let's just say
they'd have been in
Brady-
all
Let's
five.
just say he lost to Tom Brady twice.
Well, he's glad Tom Brady retired because whether he's a Patriot or Buck, he wiped his goddamn ass.
And I agree,
He wiped his
I
ass
agree
with
with
Patrick
him,
Mahomes, but it is a dynasty and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon because they trade Tyreek Hill and everybody's like, oh, you can't be as explosive. You can't do all this stuff. But you got a great quarterback and a great head coach. You can make anything else happen. And their defense is lights out.
I mean, they have had to work at it more than they should have. If they kept Tyreek, that just made it unfair. But now Mahomes actually has to earn us a $500 million contract. But it is definitely a dynasty. I hate to say it because, like we said, no one's won it more than back to back in 20
Right.
years. So, like, I agree with Biggie. It probably used to be 3. In fact, now if you win 2 in a row, been there 3 out of the last 5, they're a dynasty. And I hope to God it's over.
No one's ever won 3 in a row. The Chiefs are the number
No
2
one ever?
favorite. Nope.
No one's ever won 3 in a row.
I mean, they're the favorite probably going in though.
They're not though.
Who is it?
Niners.
Niners.
That's stupid.
Isn't it? Like what have you not learned from this year to where you feel like you need to save them? Like
So,
the,
look at
Not ever
this.
happened to be the champ. You got to beat the champ. It's true.
Look at this year with Kansas City. Mahomes
One
led
person
like
has
the
hardware and one doesn't, and they're still the favorite.
Chiefs were like the number 12 or 13 offense in the league this year, but their defense was lights out. So Mahomes made the plays when he had to, won the damn Super Bowl
how
again.
many times does like the number 1 offense win the Super Bowl?
Well,
Like that doesn't happen the majority
no,
of the time.
but typically your offense is in the top 5 or 7.
You have to have one in the top 10, whether it's
Yeah.
offense or defense. There's no way you
They
can
had the
say-
number 2 scoring defense in the
But
league.
it's all about balance. You got to have a team that complements each other. You got to, if you're going to play ball control, then your defense needs to learn how to stay on the field for long periods of time if necessary. But I mean, it's this weird blend. But to your point, like, how would you not pick the Chiefs? I said this at the beginning of the playoffs. Like, I was like, I'm done. It's Kansas City until it's not, because every time we started to say all year long, they've lost a step. They're missing something. Man, they just, maybe Andy Reid's right. Maybe they galvanized a little bit after the Raiders beat their ass and they had to look at themselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing? And just, we were hearing, maybe you shouldn't do so many commercials. Maybe Taylor Swift is too much of a distraction. Like everything under the sun was why they were losing. And then who's laughing last?
I mean, here's the thing with the Chiefs, though. So, just like any team that becomes a dynasty, even like the Bulls between both three-peats, they knew they could take off during the regular season because that ain't what matters. As long as I win my division, we know we're better than everyone else. We're going to go out and execute when it matters, and we're going to kind of coast the rest of the way because we know what the grind is. The Bulls have done it several years throughout their three-peats. So, I mean, champions realize, let's get through to where we can just execute.
But the Bulls, I think, were always a 1 seed for the most of those runs.
You see what I'm saying?
But here's the thing: the Chiefs, like you're right, the regular season didn't make or break them. They were the 3 seed. They beat both 1 seeds.
They just knew we had to win the AFC West, and then we'll take care of business in the playoffs
Just get in
because we're better than you.
and we know it. And I think they do. I mean, everybody thinks they're going to win, but I bet the Chiefs really do believe that stuff. And for all the distractions, quote unquote distractions they had, they were never fazed by any of it.
Well, and they didn't care that Buffalo felt like they was fighting for that top 2. Obviously, Baltimore was there all season long, but I don't feel like Kansas City for a moment was scared of either one of those teams.
No, but what happened was some teams weren't as afraid of Kansas City, and maybe they got a little too caught up. Maybe they needed to remember who they were messing with. And I'm not saying you should be afraid, but maybe they took them lighter than they would normally, because they weren't as polished coming into it. But if you watch football, teams that have good defenses, they find a way. They give them a chance. And man, who predicted Kansas City's defense was going to do this year? And the opposite of what we're talking about, the Niners, where they fired their D coordinator. What did Kansas City do this week?
They signed Spags to extension.
Hell yeah! I mean, they're
He's
down
a
in
great
now.
defense coordinator. The Niners fired Steve Wilkes, and it's crap. Here's Patrick Mahomes, the king of 3 and outs in the Super Bowl until the ball kicks off of a foot on a punt, and then he throws a touchdown pass. Like to that point, which was midway through the third quarter, Steve Wilkes' defense had given up 2 field goals to Patrick freaking Mahomes. So,
Yep.
and you fire that guy?
Yeah, and a lot of people will say like
Complete knee-jerk reaction.
it is.
But-
And a lot of people will say that Kansas City's lucky to win the Super Bowl because, they had some lucky bounces and things went their way.
Well, one of the other reasons is this is one of the things I love the most. I love detailed coaches. Why I like Belichick. So you can talk about knowing the overtime rules or not knowing. Andy Reid had already told his guys, it goes to overtime.
Dude, what a
We
shit
get the
show.
ball. We score to tie the game. If they've already scored, I'm telling you now, we ain't kicking it off.
Yeah,
We're
we're gonna go for
we
two.
win it or lose it.
No, but
The Niners didn't know the
the
damn rules.
Niners players came out in the media and said they're just learning the rules as they go.
They tried to walk it back now. They're like,
Well,
oh no, we talked about it.
and it's
Let
one
that happen.
It's one thing if they
I
don't
don't
know every in and out, but Shanahan does. But the sideline audio, Shanahan, he didn't know.
They were
He
looking
thought
at-
if they scored
They
a
were looking
touchdown,
at
it
the
was over.
scoreboard. They were like, okay. All right, that makes sense. And then when it was getting down at the end of the first overtime, the clock was winding and there was a lot of confusion. I think even the announcers, Romo finally said, like, the clock doesn't matter. And
Because it was still the Chiefs' first possession.
right, it's going to go like you don't have to beat the clock.
Yeah.
It's going to go until it has to. But that was how are you on the biggest? You get 2 weeks to prepare, and the Chiefs. To your point, we're able to say exactly what they were going to do. Mahomes is like, I may not. Maybe coach is going to get mad at me for saying this, but yeah, we were going to go for 2 when they took the ball first. We're
But
like,
wouldn't
what?
you think you have 2 weeks to prepare that you're already going to say what the scenarios are, so that way everyone knows?
He tried to say, Shanahan tried to say, like, well, we wanted the ball first because if there was a third possession, we wanted it to be us. But to your point, there wasn't going to be a third
Yep.
possession.
Oh,
That's
that's depressing.
my
I was sitting
biggest
there
one.
watching it with
How does
Isaac.
that happen at a pro level?
Sitting there watching with Isaac, and when they had the coin flip come out there and they won it and took the ball, I said, Isaac, if I understand the rules right, that was really dumb. And then they started talking about it. And to me, because here's what it is. If you take the ball second and you're the Chiefs, what'd they do on 4th down from their own end? They went for it. If they'd had the ball first at their own 30 of the first possession, they'd have been punting.
Right.
The Niners, 3rd down, misses the guy in the end zone because of free rusher. If that's flipped and the Chiefs have already had the ball, now you're going for it.
Are you talking about when nobody blocked Chris Jones?
Yeah. So I just, Shanahan is brilliant offensive mind, but I think he's one of those guys who wants to beat you a certain way because he wants you to know he's smarter than you.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I'm not
Christian
saying
McCaffrey touched the ball 30 times. He had 160 or something total
where
yards.
they go 10 plays after the
Second half starts, Mahomes throws an interception, 3 passes, punt.
3 and
Next
out.
possession,
3
3
and out.
passes. Like, I don't know. I felt like the Chiefs deserve the win. They're a great team, but then I feel like the Niners lost it more than the Chiefs won it.
I don't want to put it all on Shanahan. Maybe they called run plays and they checked out of it. I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen,
You
but
know what's shitty though? I mean, go ahead.
well, I'm just saying, like, but I'm not the kind of guy that believes in absolutes. I don't want to say Shanahan can't ever win a Super Bowl, but it seems like the moments are too big for him. Like it's these little attention to details that we keep talking about. But when they start to add up, it creates this mountain. And now he's starting to get the Doc Rivers reputation only without a ring.
Right.
That's the best comparison I have.
But my issue with the whole situation with Steve Wilkes is the fact that if he'd have been available 6 weeks ago, he might have had a head coaching job. And the fact we're going to fire him after the Super Bowl, after that defense played the way it played, and like you don't even get an interview because it's the timing of it.
Yeah.
That's shitty for him.
It is.
Yeah, all those
I hope
stats
he's
have
got to
been
get
filled out.
clause to get paid there because that's
I'm
what
just saying, like he would have been right in the rounds with the head coaching vacancies, in my opinion.
I'll say this in defense of Kyle Shanahan. This is the only thing I'll say in his defense. The 2 Super Bowl losses to the Chiefs, up 10 both times, blah, blah, blah. You know, they couldn't win. He wears those. Up 28-3. Dan Quinn was your head coach. He's a defensive genius.
He's a part of that, though.
But yeah, you scored 28 points. That wasn't enough to win the Super Bowl. Hey, defense, get a stop at some
how
point.
many points
Yeah.
did you score in the second half?
Get a stop at some point.
I'm just saying, if you
How many
ignore-
points did you give up in the second half?
I
31.
agree. I'm not disagreeing that Dan Quinn is the problem there. Congratulations on new job, Dan Quinn. I'm sure it's well deserved. But Kyle Shanahan also was that guy similar to what we saw in this game. Couldn't do shit in the second half.
Yeah.
And like that can't be your calling card. That can't be your side. Hey, when I'm in big games, you know what I like to do? Get up early and cave.
Yep. Well, same thing in that one. I won't go down the thing with Dante Hightower. I love him. The big play down 28-12. That's
You
the
can
pass
comment
play.
it if you want, if it makes you happy.
Well, I'll get
Get
too
your
deep.
job
My
experience.
point
Yeah, he'll get too
being,
deep.
if he runs the ball a little bit more, takes a little more time off the clock, they maybe get a field goal in there somewhere and they win the game, or there's not as much time for the Patriots to come back. I get it. It was bad play calling. Defense gave up a ton. Shanahan to me is the guy who's always going to be right where he is. You're going to be good enough to be one of the best 4 or 6 teams, but he is so certain that he's going to prove that he's smarter than you and he's going to do it his way. Like Dan Campbell, where he wouldn't kick a field goal because I'm an alpha male.
You're going to ride or die with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, you ain't the real Shanahan.
Oh, and speaking of
They
that,
showed
before we
him.
go to
He's
something
like-
else here.
Hey, real
I would
quick.
like to see the Lions in the Super Bowl.
I would have liked to see
too.
that too, but they did show old Mike Shanahan, and
Yeah.
he looked all right.
Yep.
You know, he still looks like
I
Splinter from
wanna-
Ninja Turtles, but he looks
Yeah.
all right.
I got to admit this, and I don't know why it never clicked. I never knew that Ed McCaffrey was Christian's dad.
Get the fuck out.
I didn't.
What?
I mean, I didn't know that.
He,
I mean, like, I know Ed McCaffrey was a great, receiver for John Elway. I got that. But, like,
When did you realize?
this Super Bowl.
What?
did you
Yeah.
see the story of Christian McCaffrey in high school?
Yeah.
Cramps one time in a game. So
You're
his
getting
dad,
an IV,
every
son.
Friday he takes him out at lunch and gets him an IV.
I mean, but, like, the uncanny similarities of the Broncos versus this Niners team, which his dad Shanahan, McCaffrey, Wilkes.
It's a family business, man.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was crazy.
is.
But so can we talk about the whole rage monster Kelsey on the sideline against Coach?
I think,
got-
we-
I
I think
got
we
some-
got to address it, and I think I know what you're going to say, so I'm going to let you speak on this.
So here's my problem. So a few things. We all saw what happened. I've coached youth sports, and there's never a time where it's okay for you to put your hands on your coach during a game or even in practice for that matter. But we're talking about the Super Bowl, the biggest sporting event in the history of the world, other than the World Cup, of course, because we're talking about U.S. sports. But
The only stuff that matters.
my point is, that's unacceptable no matter what. Even his brother recently came out and says, you crossed the line. But what I've noticed is that the people coming to Travis Kelce's defense are the folks, rich suburban white women, is saying that it's okay because that's Taylor's boyfriend. Get off your ivory tower. People make mistakes, and it's okay because he was they had this even alternate ego where this article came out and was like, let's hear the other side of the story. I'm like, bitch, I saw what happened. I don't want to hear the other side of the story. It's never okay. If he was black, and if he was not Taylor's boyfriend, his ass would have been suspended or probably blackballed for the rest of his career.
We'll address that, but I want to say one thing.
Sorry.
Because you covered a lot. Not everybody said that, though. There are a lot of those same people that you described that are like, oh, he's an abuser. Taylor, run. You know, he might, who knows what he's going to be like behind closed doors. If that's what he's like in public.
He said, make me a sandwich.
And she said, what's a sandwich?
Exactly.
But the whole thing with that scenario, and look, we're not race baiters at all. Like we're the furthest thing from that. But you're right. If it was David Njoku that would have done that, holy shit.
Well, AJ Brown was tweeting it Sunday night because there was a big deal about him and Jalen Hurts getting into it on the sideline.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of quarterback wide receiver stuff, but he tweeted, said, imagine I did that with my head coach. How would that go down?
I mean, he's right. He's right. And look, a couple of things I've learned in watching sports my whole life. Winning makes you look the other way on a lot of shit. And the Chiefs are
Winning's the best deodorant.
It is. It's like there's that cost risk analysis, right? Like the Browns give Deshaun Watson a job, even though he's marred in controversy. But hey, he's got talent, so we kind of and that kind of goes into play.
Think about it like this: Andy Reid's arguably one of the best coaches in NFL history. He's older; he knows how to handle situations. He was going to let that moment change what he was planning on doing. Would you imagine if a Kelsey came and did that to a Dan Campbell in this year's playoffs on the national spotlight? I'm not saying
We'd see a dragon sleeper.
I think that there would have been a knockout, drag out brawl. right there.
But this is more reason why Kansas City is who they are. Like shit like this can happen, and they just move on. It's amazing. But they
Speaking of
should.
moving on, let's move on from the greatest tight end ever debate, because why was he not on the field right there? They brought in a different tight end because it was a running play to block. Gronk would have been in the game because he's not only a dynamic wide receiver, but he's the greatest blocking tight end. That's for football. I don't ever again want to hear Travis Kelce bitching ahead of Gronk.
I don't know if the audio
No,
picked that up.
100%. I've argued with Biggie on that, but no, you know what? He's converted me.
No.
You're in the fucking Super Bowl. You're at the 10-yard line. You're taking Kelce out
Why are you yelling at me?
because you people don't understand.
You people. What does that mean?
I'm just saying. Let's
Don't get
stop
mad
with
at Andy Reid because you can't block.
yes.
Gronk is the best tight end that's played.
Thank you.
We don't need
He
to
just
go
can't kick extra points.
No.
Yeah,
Over two, Biggie.
that's a monumental fail.
That
You
was-
bet one way or the other.
No.
I can't believe you didn't even bet on Gronk.
You failed me last year. I couldn't.
I like how they do it so quick too, so you can't even see his reaction.
I love his
after-
old like Al Bundy helmet
It was nice.
with the one strap and the blue
Hey,
helmet.
that's a kicker helmet.
Yeah,
The other thing I liked about it is
That's
that
great.
Carl Weathers was involved in the build up to it.
I know.
So seeing that with him having just passed, I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
like literally, it had to be out of nowhere because he was like supposed to be training Gronk and everything.
Well, I mean, you did your autograph giveaway, and we talked about former Reds.
Don
play-
Gullet.
Again, you just saw him months ago.
Right,
and,
right.
You never know. It sucks. It sucks when we get old and we see our own mortality because legends like Carl Weathers is a lot of things to us. He's Predator. He's Rocky. He's Happy Gilmore.
No, he's Apollo.
He-
He's
he-
Apollo first, then Chubbs.
But I'm saying he's all those things, and he's those things to a lot of people. Like he is an icon. He was a Raider. I mean, there's so many things you can say about that man, and we don't have him now.
No, but think about like the first two Rockies, and those came out. I know the first one came out in the late '70s, and the second one had to be early '80s. But how ripped Carl
Oh, yeah.
Weathers was! It was like the true underdog story because they're like, there's no way this Rocky guy can be somebody that chiseled like Apollo Creed.
All I know is Happy made the putt in memory for Chubbs. Gronk couldn't do the same thing.
Oh,
So he might be
Oh.
the greatest tight end ever, but they need to pull him off that kick game forever. He don't need to go back.
If you'd have made it this year, you could have played the rubber next year, but you're 0 for 2. Move on.
you know, he was like just tap, tap, tap it in, and then he kicked it wide right with a lot of aggression.
Carl Weathers
No tapping.
is a part of one of the greatest memes ever with him and Arnold, the
The-
two
the
arms,
handshake.
and then they do, add whatever you want to it.
Yeah,
But
I love the one too, and it's kind of related, but his trainer is throw the damn towel. That's one of the best memes ever.
How much steroids do you think those guys took back then?
Carl Weathers was a pro football
He's
player,
an athlete.
so him being really good
Only
shape.
Drago, man, clearly, and Mr. T, because
We-
Rocky trained in Siberia.
There's footage
in
of
the snow.
Drago taking.
Yeah, there's footage. There's footage of Rocky training the old school way, and then also Carl Weathers. He probably just trained by throwing the ball to his dog in the pool.
That's all you need. And running on the beach and hugging another
Yes,
man like
yes,
that's
yes.
not an awkward thing to do.
Very Larry Bird shorts,
Oh, that was a style. Those are
or we
coming
like to
back.
call them Magic Johnson shorts.
Those are coming back.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how like basketball's changed where in the early 2000s the shorts were down to the shins.
It was
and-
like the and one shorts.
yeah. Now it's like reverse.
You know, I think it's like Steph Marbury.
You're right. That's who you think of. Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
All that. Ricky Davis, remember that guy?
do.
The guy that
I
would
do.
miss on his own basket to get a triple double.
I remember that.
Or the opponent's basket. That's what
Yep.
he did. Did he play for Jerry Sloan? I think he played on the Jazz.
If
when
he did, that was
that.
probably the end of his
I
career.
think Jerry Sloan was like, I don't know
I'm
what's
gonna go ahead and tell
I'm
you that right
retiring now.
now. That shit getting rebound on your opposite basket ain't gonna work for Jerry Sloan.
Carl
He didn't
Malone
play.
might marry 14-year-olds, but he wouldn't do that.
Yes.
All right, so back to Super Bowl stuff. Just with Andy Reid, because you were talking about that. Where does he sit all time now? Because we got to have a serious conversation about Andy Reid because in Philly, he won, got the NFC Championship games, got to the Super Bowl. And since he's been at Kansas City, man, they've been a winning program every year in and year out. And then once they elevated the quarterback position, like it's them until it's not.
I even think it's bittersweet though that he beat Philly last year. So
Yeah.
I think that adds to the mystique. But what do you
Yeah,
got?
the team that fired him.
Right.
I think he's one of the all-time great coaches who wouldn't be regarded as is he on the Mount Rushmore type thing had he not gotten Patrick Mahomes. When he finally got an elite quarterback, and that's what happens.
So he's not in your top 4?
Every great coach ever needed a great quarterback, right? Other than Joe Gibbs. So when Andy Reid got his guy, if Andy Reid doesn't retire for 3 or 4 more years, they'll win another Super Bowl or maybe 2 because Andy Reid is that good. He just needed the right
But
trigger.
right now is in your Mount Rushmore. Right now, top 4. He's number 5 for me.
He'd be my 5th.
I'm not prepared to do
I can't
that.
put him there yet because
If he wins another one, he is.
He's definitely there. If he wins
Especially
another
if he
one.
does the three-peat.
you guys know
It's a lock.
I'm higher on Joe Gibbs, probably most NFL fans. Joe Gibbs is one of the greatest coaches in the history of football. You went to 4 Super Bowls, you won 3,
So
you won
who's
each
your
one
4?
of
Who's
them
your 4?
with a different quarterback.
Belichick, Gibbs, who else?
I got
Wait. On Gibbs, I'll give you time to process this, but does his legacy get marred a little bit where he tried to come back and coach after all those years
I don't
away?
think so.
because they still
People
made
not
the,
even remember that.
they still made the playoffs.
Yeah.
They were
Coached
like-
4 years and
were
made
they like 9 and
playoffs
7
twice.
a year or something.
We made playoffs twice in 4 years. He was there the year Sean
That's
Taylor
the
got killed.
playoff, right?
They made the playoffs.
So if
And then he went to NASCAR and ran a
It
successful
showed
team
that at
there.
least the game hadn't passed him by.
So Dan Snyder is such a shitty owner that maybe if he wasn't there, Joe Gibbs might maybe even have more to the resume.
Yeah.
I would say that. So I appreciate the view on Gibbs because he is often overlooked. And like you can say what you want about the Hogs and those defenses and who was their big ass fullback?
John Riggins.
John Riggins. And winning with the different quarterbacks, like you can make that argument, but I think why people don't is nobody ever looks at any of those Redskin teams and say like that's the best, one of the best teams in NFL history or anything like that. They were just, you know what they remind you of? They remind you of like when the Detroit Pistons were winning titles in the 2000s. You know, it's like they're just a collection of talent, role players all fit it really well, but he maximized it. So I don't know. Do you give him more credit for that or less?
I think you give him more credit for maximizing your talent.
I do too. 3 different quarterbacks. It
speaks for itself.
Yeah. So do you have a top 4?
I mean, let's just talk it out here.
Biggie was ready to roll.
All right, go.
Well, and here's where I'm going to up different him. Somebody's going to say something, but see, I like Gibbs in my top 4. Belichick, Lombardi, Landry. So who don't I have on there that everybody else does?
So
Shula.
Shula, Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll,
Yep. They're
Vince Lombardi.
George
no, I
Halas.
have Lombardi.
Did you say Belichick?
George Halas.
Lombardi, Belichick, Lombardi, Landry, Gibbs.
Okay. So yeah.
You know
Yeah.
why I like Landry on there? Because that run they had of 20 straight years, never a losing record, it was his system. He plugged a quarterback in. When he had an elite QB in Roger Staubach, they won Super Bowls. It's kind of like the Andy Reid thing where he finally got the elite QB and won Super Bowls. To me, it matters how well you can do with a different quarterback. You got Joe Montana, great. You got Terry Bradshaw.
So
and
why do you have
17
Belichick in
defensive
there?
Hall of
then?
Famers.
Why do you have Belichick in
He's a
there?
Patriots fan. Of
Because
course.
he
He's
can
a
only
homer.
do it with Brady.
When you win at that rate for that long,
All right, I'm
All
just
right.
making sure you're
Can I get my top 4?
You can give top 20. I don't
No,
care.
top 4. We got Belichick, obviously. It is what it is. I don't care who his quarterback was because he did win when he won.
Yep.
All right.
The
so-
era too helps.
Yeah, I love Don Shula still. He's in my top. I'm not saying he's number 2. I'm
So
saying he's in my top 4.
Can we stop
in random
Can
order.
we stop on Shula for a second?
Yeah.
Just a couple highlights there. So one, you know, you get to pop that champagne and nobody else does.
All-time winningest coach still.
The other thing is, man, he was a good coach with good teams for a long time. And he had back-to-back Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
yep.
And like I know he didn't win much in
They
the
went
80s.
to 3 straight Super Bowls and won 2.
Yeah, right. But
the
they
70s.
and then even in the 80s up to the 90s, like even in like 93, the Dolphins weren't an easy out. Like he spanned into 3
The thing that
decades.
hurt Shula, I think, is that he had Dan Marino. They
Didn't
went to
win
the
with
one
Marino.
Super Bowl in
That hurts.
'84,
Yeah.
and Shula coached for like another
Their defense was
13
dog
years,
shit, man.
and they never made it back to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, their defense was never great. They never had a running game, you know, but a lot of people say Marino is the best quarterback of all time, and to not have a chip with a Mount Rushmore
No,
coach
no.
and a Mount Rushmore quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tough.
All right, so Belichick, Shula, I'm going Lombardi. Okay, number 4, completely different reason, and I'm going to justify it. John Madden, because he changed the game like Jordan changed the shoe game in NFL. Because no one knew what a turducken was. He made video games what they are today. So John Madden, for that reason alone, also because he was the coach of the Bad Boy Raiders, he changed the game of football more than any of those other 3 coaches I've already mentioned.
Hey, Greg, who's got the highest winning percentage
John
in
Madden.
NFL history?
Yeah.
Learn
Learn when to walk away on top.
I'm just
For the
saying,
other things you mentioned,
no one
people
would have
think
thought about
he-
John Madden, and he's in my Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
I
good.
the only reason why I don't put Madden up there is just longevity. I'd like to send
But
him.
think about
yeah.
the other stuff.
Oh, I well, but I think when you talk about just an ambassador for the game, it's tough to put a lot of people ahead of him. Like the NFL is a monster. Like it's incredible how big it is. Like, I don't think people even fathom that. Like the NFL this year and the fact that it had more viewership than the Apollo and all that stuff. Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's amazing. And you can say what you want about more people being alive now than back in the 60s or whatever, but just the fact that the NFL, like they just print money. Like they can't lose. They can't lose. They have control over the system. But
they've got kind of a monopoly of a sporting world.
they
really.
do. And
At
like,
least in the U.S.
like they go year long. Like the Super Bowl's over, and like the top headlines on ESPN today are like Geno Smith's going to clear for his guarantee this year, and different players getting extensions and contracts. It's like it's not going to stop. You're going to go to the combine. You're going to go to the draft. You're going to go to camps. Like it's unrelenting. And Madden is a big part of why it got there. Because without Madden being the lovable uncle or grandpa calling games with Pat Summerall, who was the drunk grandpa, and then
But they were so good together.
it was great. And then you mentioned turduckens, the video game franchise. Like, think about that.
Commitment
It's-
to excellence.
There's no other. You don't call wrestling games Vince McMahon video game. You don't call NBA 2K LeBron James or
Or even
Pat
Jordan.
Riley or Jordan or anything like that. But yet Madden, the best-selling sports franchise video game ever, he gets his name on there. Yeah, if you want to talk about legacy, man, it's hard to compete with that. But just coach alone,
No, I get that.
I can't put him in the top.
I wanted to include it all.
No, but it's hey.
So
it's
all
your
right,
fucking list. Do
who-
whatever you
what
want.
you got then?
I mean, it's like some of the ones I think about. It's easy to think of reasons why not to, and I hate to have my mind go that way, but like when I think about Chuck Noll, man, he won a lot, and he was there a long time. But similar to Shula, did all his damage in the 70s and couldn't do much in the 80s, and by the time the 90s got here, he was out the door. Tom Landry, same thing. Won a lot in the 70s, but. Invented the shot. Like, how do you not put Bill Walsh up there?
I mean, he's like I think he's like 5 or 6 from where Andy Reid or him is.
And conversely, a lot of people will put Paul Brown up there because he was like the first version. But I think sometimes, like, just because you were here first doesn't mean you're the greatest. It's easy to be an
That's kind of
innovator.
like Bill Russell.
It's easy to be an innovator when there's 14 teams.
I agree.
All that. But Bill Walsh, man, like his coaching tree. Like he was the first guy I remember like hearing about coaching trees because he had a system and people came from it and they were able to be really successful.
Well, that means something.
He
built
was,
an NFL legacy.
So I have a hard time not.
All right, so he's in the top 4.
I think I'd put Bill Walsh.
All right, Walsh. Who else?
You got to go Lombardi and Belichick.
All right, that's 3. Who's number 4?
Number 4.
All Brown.
No, I think
Marvin Lewis.
It's definitely Marvin Lewis because the Bengals couldn't win anything for a decade, and Marvin Lewis came in, and we were at least 500 75% of the time. So Marvin Lewis, put him in Canton. No, I don't know. Like I
pick one.
I think I've kind of psychologically like cleaned off the placemat for Andy Reid because I think they're going to win it next year.
I got you. That's fair.
And like, I think you could even make the argument to put him there now because he was always known as a great play caller. And now he's got the wins to go with it. But
So
I think
Belichick, you have Belichick, Lombardi, Walsh, and Andy Reid.
No, it's good. It's going to be Tom Landry for right now. And I think
Curveball.
Landry is going to be the one that falls out because a lot for the same reason with Bill Walsh. I'll put Tom Landry in there. I mean, it's crazy to think about. You remember the scene in Varsity Blues whenever Kilmer's gone and the players are running their own shit, and they show this. I think they show Moxon's dad in the stands, and they're going 5 wide, and he goes, five wide receivers. Oh, like that's what Tom Landry was doing in the 70s. They were like a shotgun. What is someone check the rule book? Are you allowed to not be
We go under center in pros.
Right? That's what's happening. Like that's what he did to the game. Like he created that.
He changed the game. That's why he's on my list. It's like, well,
and the hat, man, the hat gets credit.
The hat's legendary. Goes with a show I love.
Give me the Tom Landry hat over Bear Bryant any day. I said it. Write it down.
Now you look classy though.
They're both.
So I'll say this too, because we talk about Belichick, and obviously he's up there. See, I love Gibbs doing it with different quarterbacks, but I feel like when you have your quarterback like he had Brady for 20 fucking years, you thought the Patriots might win the Super Bowl. Well, it wasn't always, it's not just one player. So when you have your guy like Andy Reid's doing right now with Patrick Mahomes, and we're talking about him being on this list, he's been a good coach. He got his guy. You can't touch him, right? So that's why I like Tom Landry changing the game. The trophy, it's the Lombardi trophy. Look at what he did before they were Super Bowls winning NFL titles. So
I love the fact that none of us had the same thing.
Yeah,
which shows you how the
we're similar but not identical.
It changed though.
And you know, it's I just try not to have recency bias, but I think the thing that helps is, man, Belichick really galvanized kind of our view on it because we got to see that for 20 years in entirety as adults, you know, so we know what that looks like. I mean, there's
Can I throw one name out there who I think's an amazing coach?
I wanted to talk about other names that we didn't mention and maybe ones that you think are overrated or not properly rated, but who did you want to mention?
Jimmy Johnson.
I thought about that because when I was going through the Cowboys, like what he inherited was awful.
You're the guy who replaces the legend Tom Landry.
Supposed to be able to do it.
You in 5 years, you win 2 Super Bowls. All those players drafted. What is still used today for trade values was created by Jimmy Johnson for the NFL draft.
Herschel Walker.
He won a title in college. He's amazing. Then he leaves. Why does he leave? Not because he wants Jerry Jones. I want the credit for this. What happens? They bring in Barry Switzer, and Troy Aikman said on multiple occasions, Barry Switzer would lead practice before the rest of the guys. Fuck it, I'm out. They still won a Super Bowl with him and went to a title game on the team that Jimmy Johnson
It's the same thing that happened when he was at Miami and he left and they brought in Dennis Erickson.
Yeah.
The players didn't even give a shit. They're like, no, this is our team still.
Yep.
We're doing what Jimmy taught us to do. Same thing with Barry Switzer. I mean,
so you guys, who's the guy who isn't going to be on the Mount Rushmore?
I just got to say, I got to take points away from Jimmy Johnson though, because he partially helped create Jerry Jones' megalomaniac, processes here, because if he wouldn't have won those Super Bowls, Jerry Jones wouldn't be the son of the bitch he is. It happened early on in his ownership. And he's been stupid ever since. It's just been terrible. But
drunk with power.
All right. So some other coaches, like we didn't mention guys like Hank Stram, you know, that's Mike Shanahan. Tony
Dungy.
I don't know if we said this last week on the show, but those late Broncos teams that went back to back, man, they were remember they flirted with undefeated seasons. Like they were really good. And Mike Shanahan sometimes doesn't really get talked about in that same regard. And maybe it's his stupid ass son bringing his legacy down.
Probably.
But yeah, I think Shanahan's a great name to mention. What was Mike Ditka. Well,
Tony Dungy.
You know, Chicago, the Bears only have one Super Bowl.
Here's one you guys haven't mentioned. I thought we'd throw out there,
by the way.
Yeah, Colts and the one Gruden stole.
Bill Parcells.
Oh yeah, the big tuna.
Yeah,
won everywhere he went,
except for
2
Dallas.
Super Bowls. Well, I mean, he won. yeah. But I think the one that we'll look back on. So I was going to bring Bill Cowher. I was going to actually say 2 coaches I think that are in the same ballpark.
Him and Tomlin.
Well,
you could say that.
Them, but on an opposing team.
Cowher now.
I feel like John Harbaugh is our version, this generation's version of Bill Cowher. The one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're never really bad. They're they have their peak years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
And the thing is, like, you can win one Super Bowl and you're in the Hall of Fame. You
Yep.
know? I mean, that's all because it's so hard to do. But you know, we mentioned all the. Is there anybody that's won multiple that we didn't mention? I think we got them all. What we did this trivia last week. Who are the team? Shula, you got Landry, Noel, Belichick, Shanahan,
Walsh, Shanahan,
Walsh.
Belichick.
I think that's
Reed.
it.
Yep.
Like and
Reed.
Reed now. So like there's your top 10 is the guys that have won 2. And I hate that be like such an easy qualifier, but doesn't it feel right? Like if
Yep.
they're able to do it that
And
way,
ain't that funny though? How Shanahan don't even pop up.
he's way down the list.
Yeah.
He has 2, right?
He's got 2.
Yep.
And I mean he where all did he coach?
He started with the
Cleveland.
Raiders.
He was in the Cleveland too, right? No,
Was he? I don't
not
think he was.
Cleveland.
He coached the Raiders in like the late 80s, and Al Davis. There were some world.
Yeah, they had a
he
falling
fired
out.
him, and yeah,
Because that's how he ended up in Denver, and he was
Yep.
mad about that because so you went to the enemy. But
that's why Kyle Shanahan wanted to win that Super Bowl so badly in Las Vegas. Where's Daddy?
so what does somebody else need to
You
do?
said Harbaugh won a championship. I thought that
Ravens.
was Billick, Brian Billick.
No, that was the first. one.
Billick did
Oh,
win
okay,
one.
okay.
The
Harbaugh
last
also.
one with
All
Ray
right, all right,
Lewis
all right.
retired, the lights
right.
out game.
Okay, cool.
Lights out
All right,
game.
just making sure.
I maybe his brother can give a run at something here.
Nah.
He's coming in.
I'd just love to see Ravens Chargers in the playoffs now since they're both in the AFC.
That'd be a nice playoff game.
That's the other thing too. You guys know I'm really big on Jim Harbaugh. Now you got him in your division, Reed, Pierce, Sean Payton. That division,
good
other
coaching
than we'll
division.
see what Pierce does, but Harbaugh's proven, Payton's proven.
I
That
still- the
division for
Raiders
head coaches.
Finish in second.
You really do believe in Pierce, don't you?
I do.
Like I mean, that's
Dude, he's
No,
never
it-
this
I
optimistic.
know, right?
He's
Like I'm
got
proud of
the
you.
players got his back.
I'm
man.
proud of you. for
Max
this.
Crosby's like, I'm gone if he ain't my coach because that man's got balls.
Man, did
That's
you
all I need to hear.
Did you see Max Crosby at the award show?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Did you see his old lady?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm just
There
saying.
you go.
Ooh.
Well, when you have sleeves like that, man, you can get whoever you want.
I still
He's
think
not
you
even
can't.
sleeves. He's a whole body.
I still think you can't see his nipples anymore.
He's a whole body
They're gone.
tattoo.
They've been tattooed over. They're no longer visible. Maybe they're tattoos now.
He said, I have nipples, Max. Can you
Can you milk
milk
me?
me? Where's my nipples?
Oh man. Well, I the last question I got just with the Chiefs and this legacy that they've now built, like what has to happen for them not to do the three-peat? Like, I mean,
Injuries.
Do you feel like it's them? Like, is Vegas that stupid by not having them as the number 1 team?
They are stupid, but my question to you is, how do they handle a full season of Taylor Swift and not just down the stretch? So now
Ooh, do you think they're going to last that
they're
long?
back-to-back champions, and when does she cut cord, Because the thing is, if they'd have lost, she'd have wrote a breakup song about Kelsey and then went with Big Dick, what's his name?
Nick Foles.
No, not Nick Foles. Pete Davidson.
Oh yeah, Pete Davis is always lurking in the shadows.
So I mean, if they'd have lost, but now that they've won, does she wait till they lose?
Man.
That's the bigger
I mean,
question.
we all agree this is like a publicist thing, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's, I mean, maybe there's something there. Maybe something happens over time, but it seems like it's kind of running its course. Like, what are they going to do without football? I don't see Kelsey retiring to go spend his life with Tate.
Nah, he's not going to retire
But
until they lose.
I'm gonna say it right now. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says at all. I thought it was great for the league this year. Like people were getting all upset about, it, and some people were like, "I'm not gonna watch because all they do is talk about Taylor Swift." And Al Michaels got mad. And what was the number they showed during the Super Bowl? It was like 57 seconds. She was on television,
Yeah.
and that's what people were losing their mind about.
You know what that 57 seconds got the NFL? Isn't it like an extra 400 million or something in sales throughout the
No,
year?
here's the thing. That's a skewed story, Chad, and you know it because that don't take into effect on social media how many memes that creates and the nauseating overabundance of Taylor Swift reporting. It makes you sick to your fucking stomach.
Well, I just tune it out if I don't want to hear it, but everybody kept eating it up like it was must-see TV. People acted like they didn't care. Then why wouldn't it go away?
All I know is Jason Kelsey's lady
She wasn't
is
a part of it.
prettier than Travis Kelsey's lady.
She wasn't a part of it. Also, and then so the thing is,
Oh,
people's
yeah.
making jerseys It says Taylor's boyfriend. So I mean,
We
clearly,
should have made him.
Yeah.
We should have profited on that.
We should have a t-shirt company.
Just to make my favorite, I think I showed you guys just the one that had the picture of Dog the Bounty Hunter on it and just had the signatures of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
That was my favorite shirt.
Yeah.
They ought to put that in every Spencer's across the country.
you think she stays till football season?
I don't.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
yeah,
I do.
I do,
I
and
feel like-
here's why. She's on a world tour right now, so they're not going to see each other a ton.
which is why
Perfect,
they'll break
perfect
up.
timing.
No, it's perfect for them to only see each other enough to keep the love
No, no, no.
strong.
What's gonna-
Absence makes the heart
when
fonder.
he doesn't make the same effort. Like I was listening, they had him mic'd up. They're on the field, and he's hugging her after the game. He's like, "I can't believe you made it. When did you get?" Like, she did all this effort. While we're sitting here drinking out of fucking paper straws, she's flying her jets all the way across the world.
In Japan, right?
And her
Yep.
bank account's a little different than Travis's. What's going to happen when she's doing like Western Australia tour and like Travis is like, I'm not going.
Well, here's why he'll be there. You want to know why? Remember the girlfriend he had before they
Yeah.
broke up because he wanted her to pay half of everything? The suite that they were all sitting in at the game, you know how much those suites were going for? Estimated
Like-
2.5 million. You know who paid for that
I'm
seat?
sure
For
she
Taylor,
paid for
her
all.
friends, Jason, all them. Travis paid for it.
What?
Yep.
It's
No.
over $1 million.
No, they made a big thing about it on Twitter because he wanted to go halves with his other old lady and he dropped 2 million for them to say the
Oh,
box.
maybe it is love.
Yep.
Maybe I just need to be a hopeless romantic about this.
Should.
Would she sing at her own wedding?
Probably.
Sandler for that one.
Man. All right.
So I got one question for you guys before we don't talk Super Bowl, all that sort of stuff. I wore these glasses for one reason. I didn't see all the Super Bowl commercials,
Are those rose-colored glasses?
but my favorite one was the one with Brady and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, the
Dunkin'
Dunkings.
Donuts. Yeah.
Did you guys have one that you really liked?
The sports or the Super Bowl commercials. Yeah, there was. I see. I watched them. I remember there was one I really kind of popped for, but there was some. I thought it was funny. Like some of the movie trailers were like coming out in December, and like yet you're doing the Super Bowl commercial and all
Yeah.
this stuff. Like maybe that's a good investment. I don't care. You guys can get mad if you want. I thought it was weird that the Jesus commercials were as big as they were. Like they spent $20 million on feet washing commercials.
No, I mean,
for hippie Jesus.
that kind of caught me off guard because it was sitting there talking about, like, it was going on forever. Everybody was washing everybody's feet, and then it became
Oh, I knew what it was right away.
it was just weird for me.
It was. I mean, maybe they got a lift from that, but that was.
So my favorite one, and me and Biggie talked about. I know he's got more than one, but Sir Patrick Stewart.
oh yeah.
What was
The Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then he was like talking, and they're trying to
Remember
have throw it over the mountain, right? Well, then Drew Barrymore was like, she's like, "Oh, great, Creed's here." He cuts her off. He's like,
Got your trap,
shut your face, Barrymore." And then I'm like, that was so great. And then he strips down to like the YA tittle gear.
Oh yeah.
And he's going to act like he's going to throw it while Creed's playing, "Can you take
You got
me?"
Reno 911 with the
Yeah.
tramp stamp.
And then he hits
Creed.
the mountain, the side of the mountain was it Hey Arnold?
Yeah, that was good shit.
That was a
I-
good
yeah,
commercial.
We posted that.
I
I
liked it
got
as-
that commercial like a week before, and I put it on social media, and a lot of people liked it before it even made the Super Bowl.
I love that one.
Yeah. I love that as he threw it because he goes, I just threw him higher. And the way I don't know.
Sir
It was just put
Patrick
together
Stewart
really well.
He's a gift, man. Like I appreciate the hell out of him. He does his little animated voices on Family Guy and American Dad and all that stuff, and he does these jokes. He was in the Doctor Strange movie reviving Professor X. Like I really like Patrick, and some people only know him from like Star Trek and shit like that. But he's amazing. Give me. What was Men in Tights? He was King Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good shit.
Did you
That's how
see
know.
the couch potato commercial?
Were they like it was like the Matrix kind of like
No,
they
they're
were
all
all
on
like,
potatoes.
they were farming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
see
That's
that
why
one?
it sounds
No.
like the Matrix because they're in rows and sitting.
It
there.
was all about just them being like couch potatoes. You didn't see that one?
I did not.
I think it was a streaming service.
I don't. I was just. I think it was Tubi or something
Maybe,
like that,
yeah.
or Fubo, or one
Yeah.
of those weird services that I don't subscribe to. I feel like there was.
You don't have to because they're free.
I feel like there was another one that popped out to me, and I can't remember what it was. But there was nothing great. I don't feel like there were bad ones. Like they didn't try to go with any narrative. They weren't too conservative or too progressive or anything. They were just, it just felt like football commercials.
I always
Yeah, it
like
wasn't none over the top compared to normal.
Right.
I always like paying attention to them because we were in high school at OJT. So senior year, you only went half a day. One of our classes was our business class. And I can remember one of our reports was that you had to watch the Super Bowl and make a report on one of the halftime commercials. And then I've always since then been into it. Like this year was $7 million for a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl because it's the biggest sporting event in the United States and in the world other than the World Cup.
Last thing I got. I love the halftime show.
I didn't watch it.
Not an Usher fan.
I think he's overrated. And I like my thing is the fact is, Alicia Keys' husband, he's pissed off.
Oh, probably. He
Was there some grinding going
yeah.
On
on?
the way he was behind up on her, rubbing up on her. But Alicia Keys looked good, so I ain't mad about it. But
you
I'm
know
sure,
she
I'm
doesn't
sure her husband is.
she doesn't wear makeup ever.
I mean, she don't need to. She's
No,
gorgeous.
She's a good looking girl. But yeah, Usher was there was some mic
He
issues.
was a little chummy.
Oh, he was in a wasn't he in a BMW commercial?
I don't know. Could have
Yeah, there was a commercial. Aren't you supposed to be somewhere in the first half?
Yeah, I do remember that now that
Yeah.
you said that. But I thought it was good. I'm not saying it was like top 10 perform, but it was good entertainment. If you like any R&B music or if you like Usher at all.
I mean, you know what
probably
Janet
thought it was
Jackson says, there ain't no show unless the titty falls
great.
out.
Right, but we're never gonna get that again.
My favorite memory of that Super Bowl is Leo DiCaprio up in the booth doing Booger Sugar, taking a bump.
Of this Super Bowl,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was
They pan to him and his head's down. And they're like, let's find some other
well,
celebrity.
you're in Vegas.
Who'd they hit next?
I don't remember.
And he actually got up and kind of
Who cares
waved.
if
and-
he's living off that scene of Wolves of Wall Street?
Yeah, he's still like, I'm shooting a movie.
Ah. So that's what he was doing. I was
Yep.
taking that bump.
The only thing I know for sure is that whoever was with him was under the age of 25.
Mm.
Or is it younger than that?
I think 26 is the cutoff for
Is
him.
that 26?
I just have one question. If you were well off, you made $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, you're not rich, but you
How do
make
you know I
great
don't?
money. We're friends. I would know.
Hmm.
You make that much money and I don't know, I'm taking your knee out. Would you
Yeah, they better be
pay?
taking us out to lunch more.
Would you pay? Because like the top tickets at the Super Bowl were, if you want to sit on like the 40-yard line and a lower level, we're going for like $38,000. Would you ever be willing to pay that money?
The Bengals were in a Super Bowl a couple years ago against the Rams, and that's my squad, right? And I mean, I looked at that with the fear of mortality, saying we're never going to get back here, and we may not. I remember looking at tickets, and it was like $5,000, $6,000 for like upper deck bad seats. And if it would have been half that, I would have bought it. And that's just the price of the tickets. Like, I don't know how much it cost for food out there. I did look at concession prices. They weren't that bad. Like, there wasn't anything
I think
crazy.
the thing that would get you, even the ticket prices were a little bit less, is that it's a spur of the moment thing. You find out 2 weeks before the
Like, where you
Bengals
gonna
are going
stay?
or the Raiders are
It's in
going.
the hotel.
Yeah.
You-
Those are jacked up.
I'm Airbnb. That's it. You got to. There's
Yep.
no way. And even
I'm
that,
so grateful that baseball's the way it is. I got to go watch the Braves in the World Series for $1,000 a ticket, second row in left field.
Hey, you got on TV too.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's great. But
NFL never happened.
the Super Bowl, the AFC or NFC
It's so
championship
big.
game, you probably could, unless you're Detroit, because those prices went nuts. But the Super Bowl is just a corporate thing. Like it's all like, how many of those people got tickets through like a corporate sponsorship?
Yeah,
Or
I gotta be
or-
honest. Even if the Raiders made it back Super Bowl for that price, I wouldn't go.
Like what would
There
you
was
pay? Wait, what would you pay for a Super Bowl ticket for the Raiders?
I paid $2,000 a ticket.
All right, so you're about where I was at.
Just 'cause I don't want to go any higher.
It's not worth it.
No.
There was a former NFL player who went to the game for the first half, lives in Vegas, left at halftime to go home and watch it because his seats were bad. He said, screw this. I'd have to find it. It was on Twitter. But to what you were saying, for the amount of money you'd pay for a good ticket, you could have a really nice experience right here. And then you get to see everything.
Yep.
Well, I enjoyed watching it on the big screen at Harp Attack's house. It was nice. Even though he was a Niners fan, he was pretty well. behaved.
Did he take it well?
Yeah.
As someone who loves to see different crazy things happen, I couldn't imagine dropping at a minimum. I saw the cheapest ticket was $9,000 just to run on the field as a streaker and leave your pants on. Come on.
there
And there were
was-
2 of them.
You got it. And you're in Vegas too. Like there's people on the sidewalk that wear less clothes than they.
Yeah.
That was poor.
And you
Poor
know, they're
decision
not
making.
showing you and they're not talking. Romo started to, and he's like, oh, we can't talk about that. So it's like, why? You spent all that money for what?
Yeah, I guess a night in jail. I don't know. I mean, are you bragging about that the next day? Because that's the thing. Like, if you came in here and been like, guys,
Hey.
guess what I did? I ran on the field. I was like, dude, that was
He said it was a bucket list item, and he spent $42,000 just to spend a night in jail.
Is that what he said for
That's
real?
what it said in the article.
That's insanity.
What
What's
I would
wrong
like
with
to
our
do,
country?
Super Bowl goes back to Vegas at some point. It's be there for Super Bowl week. You're never going to make it to the game, but all the events leading up to it, like the cheerleader. that
Yeah,
they
our
had on,
interview with
that would be cool stuff.
Elizabeth Morgan, former
Yep.
Bills. She spent all week out there. Make sure you guys check out that episode. Yeah, she made it sound like I could go hang out there for the week and still have a hell of a time.
We need to get credentials for Radio Row.
I've looked into it. You know, it's
Let me make a few phone calls.
it's not cheap. We need to post some more memes and
Okay.
make some more money off that. But with that, we appreciate your all support. Keep subscribing to the podcast, share it out, and tell everybody else about it. That'll help us get the Radio Row. But you know, I think that kind of winds us down for the evening. I'm ready to play some NBA Jam and see if last night you were sick, Greg. You've been dying with flu or whatever, bubonic plague.
Yeah.
And we went live and I beat Biggie with Mutombo.
Uh-oh.
He blocked my 3-point attempt in the corner from Karl Malone with no time left.
Have you seen the video?
No.
I'll find it and show it to you. It had some. You know how that
It
damn
was
game
Combo
is?
and Dell Ellis.
It was Lafonso. I don't know
Okay,
which one.
Lafonso Ellis. Okay.
Maybe. And I was like going to switch at halftime, and it was just so bad. But you know how that game always keeps scores close.
Yeah.
It kicked in an overdrive that.
There you
time.
go.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening to the We Don't Know Sports podcast. We appreciate you letting us invade your ears once again. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you like to get your podcast. We're everywhere. Make sure you check out our website, www.wdksports.us. If you want to come on the show, you can fill out a guest registry form. You can see all our past episodes, all our different guest catalogs on there, and even Biggie with his super sexy sunglasses. And Greg.
Greg freaking Raleigh.
Have a great one, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.